Alright, so I removed those 6 screws and now this RF shield just lifts right up. And we can set that aside to clean it later. Now, flip the laser mech back over. And, you know, I do want to clean this up, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by using one of these Windex wipes. I do like these things. Kind of handy rather than spraying Windex everywhere. And I'm just going to clean any dirt off of this plastic right here. Don't touch the lens with this though, because like I said, you want to be careful. So clean around that very carefully. Now get a paper towel and just dry. That looks pretty clean. Now, what you want to do is we probably got some lint from the paper towel in there. Now, you can clean this lens. You just got to be very, very careful. Got some 99% isopropyl alcohol here. Just gonna get it on a Q-tip. And don't drench the Q-tip. You don't want this thing swimming in it. But squeeze out as much as you can so that it's just damp. And then just carefully, very, very gently, just rub on the lens there. Now flip the Q-tip around to the dry side. Do the same, just very, very gently. Do not push down on this, or you can easily damage this lens. And now we'll just use the compressed air again. Just very gently, just blow in there, make sure it's dry. Alright, so now I'm going to finish blowing this thing out. I'm going to actually clean whatever this is off the side here. I'm not sure what in the heck that is, but apparently they spilled something and it probably splashed up the side onto the side of the laser mech here, as well as the RF shield. But yeah, that's basically it for cleaning the laser mech. That's all you really need to do. So now we're going to set this off to the side and worry about it later. Now that leaves us with, we've got a bunch of RF shielding like this. We've got these pieces. Actually, let's go ahead and disassemble this a little bit further as well. There's just 2 screws in the back here. Just pull these out, set them off to the side. Just lifts right out, and set that off to the side as well. And now we've got this removed so we can clean this now. So we've got the front, the back, we've got top and the bottom, and the RF shields. Basically what I'm going to do to clean these is I'm going to get a toothbrush and I'm going to get some Windex and I'm going to scrub at them. And I've talked to you guys about this before with controller cleaning videos and whatnot. It's just the same thing. Just scrub at them, get to as much crap off as you can. Some sort of, it's like a weevil or something right there. But just scrub at it and then just run it under the sink. Wash all the Windex off, dry it off. A great way to even dry it off is use the air compressor. Actually, it works pretty well to dry things off quickly. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And I will be right back once this stuff is done drying, so hang in there. Alright, so I'm back and I've cleaned up all the outer plastics with a toothbrush, some Windex, and dried them off and everything, and they are ready to go back together. But as you remember, I got this controller port board here, and this ribbon cable has some crap on it, or corrosion, I'm not sure what it is. but we're going to try to clean it off. But also I noticed there's some crud here on the back of where the, it looks like where those shielding, those may be grounding points, I don't know, but there's some metal here where the shielding, as I called it, makes contact with this board, and it's got some crud on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dip a Q-tip in some isopropyl here, and we're just going to see if we can clean that off. And it looks like it is coming up for the most part. Huh. Well, it's not all coming off. We'll worry about that in a second, but let's try to clean off this ribbon cable. So I'm going to get some isopropyl here again, and we're just going to go across and clean it off. See how it looks. And we still have some crud up top here, and so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get out the metal polish, and we're going to clean this just as if it were some game cartridge contacts. So I'll shape our paste here, polish, Q-tip here, and I'm just going to do the same thing on the on this stuff here. I'm just going to see if that cleans it off any better. Backs of these, and it is pulling off quite a bit of dirt. I don't think it's that imperative, so I'm not going to scrub at this too much. And yeah, just clean it up with some isopropyl. And I'll even get one of these anti-static wipes out here. It's actually cleaning some games earlier, so just wipe that up. It doesn't need to be polished up like the pins, so don't worry too much about it. That looks good. And so now we'll get another Q-tip here, dip it in polish, and just put my feet back here so I can get a little bit of pressure. Just go back and forth on it. Just go back and forth, back and forth. Now, some isopropyl. I'll just get my paper here, my anti-static wipe, and just dry that off. And it looks much better. You can see you may be able to see there's still a little bit of whatever this is, whether it's corrosion or not, up at the top here, but that's not really going to matter, so I'm not going to really push the issue. So now that we've cleaned that, let's actually clean the controller ports, because I didn't want to run this under water, obviously, in the sink. So I'm just going to use Q-tips, and this is what I do. I'm just going to clean out the inside of here with some Windex. And same for the outside. So there's some crap on these. I mean, it's dirty, but it's not, at least it's not the most terrible system I've had to work on. I've had to work on much dirtier ones than this. Not to mention computers, but yeah, now I'll just go ahead and use the air compressor here to blow out the inside of these ports. Alright, and that is ready to be reassembled. Then, I'm actually going to clean this up. This is that filter that goes on the side. Just gonna scrub it with a toothbrush really quick and get it cleaned up. Alright, so we are ready to assemble this thing. And let me go ahead and get things situated and I will be right back. Alright, so I'm back and we have the bottom of the GameCube here all cleaned up and dried out. And so we can start reassembling it. And we do that by putting in these first, which are the mounting points for the GameCube player. Just simply take those, drop them into place there and there. And now we have the two shielding pieces. One goes here, and one goes here. Now we've got the bottom portion of the RF shielding for the entire unit goes right there. Now remember, this was held down with two screws there and there. So I'm just going to hurry and do that. Not sure why they have such beefy screws to hold down a piece of tin, basically. Alright, so now that is in, all we need to do is take our motherboard, drop it back into place, give it a little push because there are some connectors on the bottom, and now all we need to do is put the 6 screws back in the top of the heatsink here. Let me go ahead and do that and I will be right back. Alright, so we've got the motherboard secured back in, and now we can put the laser mech back on top. Now I've already put the shielding back on, as you can see, and remember that was held on with these 6 smaller screws that you set aside, hopefully, with the shielding. So all you need to do is push the laser mech back down. Remember, this connector is going to push into this connection right here on the board. So just get it in there, and it shouldn't require too much force to get it on. Now, let's go ahead and set that aside for a second. And just remember that we need to reassemble this piece here. So all we do is just stick that back on like that and put the 2 screws that go in the back here back in. Once again, not sure why we have such beefy screws to hold down such a light, small piece. But they do, so there we go. We have that assembled back in and ready to go. Now, get this back into frame here. So, to reassemble this, first we've got these little shields that we need to reattach. So, just drop those long screws in them. Remember, this piece goes up front. Now just use a screwdriver here to fasten them down real quick. Now when you're doing this, keep in mind that there are 2 holes, and you probably can't see them from this angle. Let's see if I can see. Yeah, these 2 holes here and here, on each one of these, they're going to line up to a piece that's sticking up out of these controller ports here. So just make sure that those are lined up when you put them back in, when you screw these things down. So now that we've got those screwed back down, we just need to refasten the entire assembly to the bottom here, and we do that by, we got 5 screws here, 4 screws on the back, and 3 screws in the center on the side. Do not put any screws in here. Remember, those are for the fan assembly when we put that back in. So let me go ahead and put these screws back in, and I will be right back. Alright, so I've got the whole unit fastened back to the bottom of the casing here, and now we can go ahead and put the fan assembly back in. Now, as you can see, there's a relief cut in the plastic here, and that just lines up with one of the screw points on the bottom of the laser mech. So you can just line that up, and it should, with a little coaxing, slide right back in there. Now all we need to do is put these two screws back in, one at the front here, and then one at the back. Alright, now remember to reconnect the power for the motherboard. Now we can place the back of the system back in here. Just slides right forward there. It's really simple. Now on the controllers ports here, now you'll remember there was some gunk on the ribbon cable here. To clean it out of the connector, I just got some isopropyl and just got that all nice and wet and then scrubbed it as best I could with a toothbrush. Hopefully that was enough to clean that up. But now to reinsert this, you're just going to put it into the connector there and then just push down. It shouldn't require too much force. Should slide in real easy like that. Now you just line up that and just, once again, like the back side, just push forward. There we go. Alright, now this is pretty much all reassembled and just ready to get the top back on. So let's go ahead and reassemble the top, and then we can do that. So we got the top side here, we got our lid, we got our buttons, and all the miscellaneous stuff here. So now with the lid, this is all scratched up here. It's not incredibly bad, but I mean, it's noticeable. And one thing I was thinking of doing is I've used a headlight restoration kit to clear up headlights and fog lights and things like that, and they actually work pretty well. Now, I don't know if this logo here is on the top. It doesn't feel like it is. It feels like it's actually got this plastic over it. And I actually want to try to use that headlight restoration kit to actually polish this and make it look brand new once again. So that's going to be a later video. I'll show you guys how to do that if it pans out. If it doesn't, I will show you the results of why you shouldn't try that. But yeah, just a heads up for a future video, I thought that might be a good idea. But anyhow, let's go ahead and get back to this video and keep reassembling the top. So just go ahead and put the door back on top here. And now we're going to start with this little gear. You'll remember it. Remember that tab, it just drops in towards the bottom. There we go. Now we've got our spring and our hinge. Whoop. Oh, great. So remember how that lines up. This is the bottom of the hinge. This piece goes into the hinge. This piece pushes up on the door. So I'm just going to go ahead and take some finesse. Just get that under the gear here and push that back down. Now just hold that with your finger. Hopefully you've got a magnetic screwdriver. And just tighten that back down. Alright, now this other hinge is a piece of cake. That one's back in. Now just screw it down. Now let's check this out, make sure, yep, working perfect. Let's just flip it back over. Now let's go ahead and just put the handle back on. So easily enough, it just drops into place. Just get your 2 screws. Screw it back in. Oops. Now don't forget your LED light here, the diffuser. Just drop it into place. Same thing. Just oops. And now all the screws that go on the bottom of this thing are exactly the same except for 2. And that's the 2 that hold down the ejection mechanism right here. Which I'm going to put the buttons in last, but I will show you how to get this back in. Now, remember, you've got part of the spring here goes through this notch in the ejection mechanism, and this piece wraps around and pushes against the side of the casing. So just go ahead and drop that down. Now, spring. There we go. That is where it needs to be. So, like I said, the screws are different. They have larger heads on them. So just go ahead. Because if you use these screws on there, the ejection mechanism would most likely just pop right off. So they have the larger heads to hold this mechanism down and allow it to move underneath the head of the screws. And you don't need to tighten these down to astronomical levels. Alright. So now, flip this over and put our buttons back in. Now remember which are which. You got your power button here. You got your open button on this side and your reset right here. Now remember, there's a spring on the open button. So just go ahead and actually put the spring in first. Come on. Let's see if that is lining up. It is not. Alright, so just make sure that your notches are lining up now. That should work perfectly. Alright, so now we are ready to get your top and the bottom joined back up. So, oh wait, I almost forgot. Don't forget your filter here that goes on the side, which just drops in. It has these 3 little notches on the bottom here that will line up with the notches on the bottom of the case, and you should just be able to drop it right down in, and it should be fit flush and flat. Alright, now just drop the top straight on and flip it over. Now just need to get our game bit back onto our screwdriver here. And you can just put the serial port covers back on at this point if you want to. Fortunately, I only have one. There's 3. There's a longer one and a smaller one here. Now just drop your screws down in. And tighten them up. Now, This is a model 101, which means that it does not have the digital AV out on the back, which is not the model that I use because I use the component cables. As I said, with the black one that I recently got from the DI, I can use that one for portable use because I really don't need the digital output on it. Now this one also, being the 101, does not have that digital output, which is a bummer. But the nice thing about these 101s is you can use them for spare parts. Everything is interchangeable. There's even a spot on the motherboard, if you really had to, where you could take that second connector, and that's right here, and you could desolder that from the motherboard and solder it to the one in here, and then just use the backing. I mean, you could use that board, basically, is what I'm saying. Everything is the same except for that connector is missing. But yeah, so basically, we have reassembled our GameCube here. It's nice and clean as it's going to be. There's a lot of marks and stuff like that you're not going to be able to take care of, but if you wanted to, you could always paint this and make it look nicer, but I'm not going to do that because it's really not worth that. But yeah, that is how you take apart, clean up, and put back together a Nintendo GameCube. So let me know down in the comments what you think. Is there any more information you want? You got any questions? Just leave them in the comments down below. If you've got another system you'd like to see me open up and show you how to refurbish, that'd be great too, and I will make a video for it. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you guys with the next video.